Go Ape is a high wire activity based in the forest. We put you in a harness and you swing through 35 different types of obstacles, which range from wobbly bridges to Tarzan swings and zip wires that lead you through the forest for about 3 hours, not directly supervised. We train you for about 40 minutes, and after that we say, if you want to carry on, you have to take responsibility for yourself and for any minors in your care to ensure that you clip yourself on safely. It's a very simple system, but if you don't follow it, you expose yourself to very serious or even fatal injury. It's an unusual business plan because we've designed risk in, but actually without that we think we wouldn't be successful, because people come to us saying, I didn't think we're allowed to have fun in this country anymore. And we're very keen that our children, because we're mainly families and friends, as well as people in their 20s and 30s and work groups, who go, actually this is not a ride, it's a very sort of interactive, based in the trees and the forests. So it's a beautiful place to be, where we can actually either work as a team build or generally get a sort of enormous sense of well-being. And all the people find it's actually the most adventurous thing they've ever done in their lives and come away sort of thanking us for some life-changing experience, which is great, but it's just a nice place to be. Well, we thought to allay our fears of the Health and Safety Brigade, we better go and talk to the Health and Safety Brigade. It was interesting and surprising and disarming that in fact they welcomed it and supported us pretty bravely from the very beginning. They'd been getting it in the neck from everybody saying, you're all killjoys, and they actually felt that most of the health and safety headlines that get in the papers are not actually anything to do with the law, which is actually quite sensible, but it's to do with misinterpretation by lay and ill-informed health and safety sort of officers within organisations who interpret in a crazy way. So they're saying they actually took the view that without an element of risk, then activities aren't developmental. And they were worried that actually the country was becoming too safe and that children up until the age of 18 were not being allowed to be exposed to any form of risk. And this cotton and wool wrapped approach was going to not actually make them safer, but allow them to be unable to face life's inherent risks safely. And therefore they were probably going to get more hurt. So actually they felt that Go 8 was a concept which would introduce them to risk assessment, risk management skills, which would help them to lead adventurous lives more safely. And that's all what we're about. We're about creating adventures and encouraging people to live life more adventurously. So the single and only vaguely bright thing I did was to work out, how do you market something which is physically lost in the woods? And then we thought, well, who has woods with visitor centres who already have a footfall? And in the early days of the internet in 2001, late 2001, I plugged in forest and visitor centre, not exactly a stroke of genius, but up came 40 names owned by the Forestry Commission. So I went and spoke to them. And they very bravely said, this is the big idea we didn't know we were looking for. But they offered me a 3-year deal with one course. And I said, no, I want a 6-site deal for a minimum of 20 years. And they said, well, you have to go to England. So I went to the headquarters for England and negotiated with them and came away with an exclusivity deal for the whole of England's Forestry Commission locations, which is 40% of the nation's forests, for 21 years. And if we did 6 courses within 4 years, then they would give us an extra 6 years, which is what we did. So that actually tied up our future locations, and they are great locations because they already have, on average, maybe £1 million worth of infrastructure put in place, car parks and good quality loos and cafeterias, power, waste, sewage works, all that sort of stuff was really expensive and wouldn't be worth putting in. But it gives us the 200,000 visitors who go there a year, and also all that benefit for which we share but don't exclusively use. It was only really in the second year when we nearly blew it up by expanding too quickly, over-ambitiously, and nearly ran out of cash before the summer. We came close to not being able to pay the wages, that I suddenly realised that profit is not a dirty word, and it's actually quite important. So at that point, we got a finance director on, and I think I was listening to something on a podcast on the way up today, and there's a Japanese entrepreneur who does weather, worldwide weather. It's Peter Day's business podcast, really good, recommend it. And he said there are three types of people. There are people who make, people who count, and people who do something else, which I've forgotten. But I think the make, I think I'm quite good at doing the ideas and the sort of passion and sort of, come on guys, let's get it done, I'm sure we can find a way. You need somebody who's really good at accounting to make sure that there is cash and cash flow forecasts. Cash is king, and cash flow forecasting is something which I learnt in the second year is really important, but I wouldn't be good at myself. And then there are people who are actually going to, get the stuff done. So I think with us, if you have a plan and you know where you're going and you've got good counters, then you can cost and budget for it. And it's that predictability of good cash flow forecasting which is critical. And that, sadly, is why so many good ideas, I think, don't come off, is because people don't realise that until it's too late. And unfortunately, the banks are not in the risk business. And when you need money, that is not the time to go and ask for it. The most important thing you should count is your customer experience, whatever business you're in. You need to make sure that each and every time you deliver a service, that you over-exceed those customer expectations, that they come out with a wow experience, because they will be your referrals, they will be, word of mouth is by far and away your best marketing tool. So when people say, what do you do with marketing? You make sure that that first welcome is a real welcome. You really welcome people when they turn up. And I mean that, you welcome them. And then when they leave you, you thank them. And if something you've done is wrong, or even if something it's nothing to do with you, but they've had a bad experience, you have a choice. Either let them go away and tell everyone they've had a bad experience, however unfair that was in relation to you, or you can try and turn them around into becoming customer ambassadors, where they go, okay, actually it wasn't great, but the way they dealt with it was very impressive. And then they can turn them around. So I think that's the most important thing that I feel as chief gorilla of Go8, which is a sort of weird role that switches between deliveries and sort of brand custodian. That's what I do. I go around and check that the way our staff interact with our customers and the experience they have satisfies me. They're going, yeah, wow, that's great. Brand values don't just happen. You have to think about what sort of company you want to be. And rather like growth of a business, if you know where you're going, you're more likely to get there. If you determine what sort of company you want to be, and equally important, what sort of company you don't want to be, and write that down and communicate it clearly, frequently and often, then actually you've got a pretty good chance of either attracting those people who respond well to that, or getting rid of people who go, well, that's not for me. So in our job descriptions that are put on a website, for every job description, we have at the bottom our company values, which is creating worthwhile, well-rewarded careers, being socially and environmentally responsible, creating adventure, encouraging people to live life adventurously, putting I can into I can't, and doing the right thing. And I hope I haven't missed one out. But by saying that and putting it down there and telling people what our mission is, we want to be the best adventure company in the world. We want to have 40 courses in the UK by 2012 and 80 worldwide by 2015. By saying that, hopefully people go, well, hang on, I fancy a piece of that. And that's why we're continuing to expand, actually. People say, well, is it about world dominion? And if you had a white cat here, I would say, no, it's not. But I think it's because if you don't continue to grow, your best people will leave.